All right, so everybody, namaste, welcome, good night, good evening. Hello, everyone online. And we start with a little mantra. That's the Gayatri mantra. You may have heard of it, it's quite famous. And you don't have to join in, but if you want, you can join in saying the words as well. Or you can just use it as a mini meditation. So the Gayatri mantra is a quite popular mantra, and it speaks about that we connect to that light, whatever that means for you. For most people, light has a very positive connection. That this light, or sometimes called the divine light, is realized by us, who we are beings. So we realize that there is a divine light, and this divine light lives in us too, and that we meditate on that, and then that this awakens our knowledge about ourselves, that we are that light as well. So that is the idea about this mantra. And I will give you the lyrics, and if you want to join in the chant, you can do that too. It's not call and response or something, just join in if you want. But let's repeat the lyrics all together once. That starts with an Om. Please repeat after me. Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyoyunaf Prachodayat. Yes. So you at home, you can read while I chant, or you just enjoy. Let's get all those people in. Okay, 2 more joining. And I will just chant it for 3 times, so you can close the eyes and just tune in and see what kind of feeling comes with it, or you join in and try to sing it, or whatever comes intuitively. So first of all, find a stable, steady seat. Find your breath. And then connect to that divine light that lives inside. If you want another word, you can call it your innermost self, your essence, your soul, that what shines, that what is. And let's all do together one Om. Please inhale. Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyoyunaf Prachodayat. Savitur Varenyam savitur vareniam Bargo devas animai One arm together. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Keep your eyes closed for a little longer and feel. Sense that beingness or that divine light. If you can tap into that, if you can rest into that. Everything sparks from that light. Every thought sparks from that and is that. Every feeling, every sensation, every emotion, everything you see, smell, taste, touch. So it's ever present. Good. Let's take one more breath through the nose and a gentle sigh. And open the eyes. And welcome back, also for those who joined later in. Lovely to have you all here and online. Today I want to speak about a topic that is Sankalpa, a teaching that comes from the yogic traditions as well, and speaks about our purpose and our path and what our heart is longing for. And there's a teaching coming with that. Of course, the yogis like to teach, but they do it with a good intention. They want us to become more joyful in our daily experience. And Sankalpa is that teaching of finding that path towards a purpose or a path towards a fulfilling of the heart's desire. And that's not something I can transmit and let you click it within an hour, but maybe I can give an inspiration of I can have a look more deep into that topic, or I can walk and see if there's something for me. In the end, no one else does the work for you, of course. So it's if you want to go deeper, if you want to invest your energy and time and effort in it, then you can maybe use that. And maybe it's not the right time, and that's totally fine too. So if you have any questions, then you can put them into the chat or just ask. You can also unmute yourself and do that. All right, so I have prepared something. Let me close those things. Okay. Okay, so what is the Sankalpa? Have you ever heard of New Year's resolutions? Mm-hmm. Yes. So, how long did your last New Year's resolution last? Approximately? A few months. I think that's good. Sometimes they're forgotten at the 2nd of February. And sometimes they last a little longer. And did someone manage to actually get something done, a New Year's resolution, to get it done? Yeah?
Yeah.
How did you feel afterwards? Relieved. Amazing. For how long? Still? Oh, that's great. Because sometimes you do something and then you achieve it actually. And the happiness that gives you is very short. And a moment later, or a day or something, you're like looking for the next thing to achieve because it actually didn't fill that little gap you thought it would fill. Sometimes. Maybe you fixed it for all times. A Sankalpa is similar to a New Year's resolution, but goes deeper. Let's break down the word first. San and Kalpa. So San is the connection to your highest truth. Okay, that's already like quite difficult. What is my highest truth? But that's part of the journey of Sankalpa. So San, that's this word, the highest truth. And Kalpa is a vow or a rule you follow. So in other words, we make a vow to follow our highest truth. That is a Sankalpa. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So a Sankalpa is translated sometimes in more normal daily life terms. What's your intention? So sometimes people use it as intention. But in the way I will describe it today, it's more meant as something that goes deeper, that follows you as a purpose for a long time or maybe even your whole life, or that transforms your life. So sometimes you set an intention for a yoga class or for a day or for a year or something, and that's all right. Sankalpa can even mean that, and that's fair enough. But what I refer today is a little bit deeper, by finding the highest truth and by following also that and make it into your highest principle you follow. And why is it different than a New Year's resolution? A New Year's resolution often, and I don't mean you did that or some are not, but often it's something that is motivated from the outside. Something that is either programmed through society, parents, and so on, or just hugely motivated from your ego or from the outside world. So I want to quit smoking, I want to lose weight, I want to whatever. Any other ideas? What's typical?
Lose weight.
Yeah. Go more to the gym, want to be fit.
My husband.
What? Fine.
Quit my job, leave my husband.
Quit my job, leave my husband. Okay, that's quite strong ones. But be more social. So many of those things are that you think you should change because the environment would see you in a better light, right? I should be fit because then I have more chances to get a partner. And obviously you should have a partner in this life because otherwise you're like a loser or whatever. I don't know. You're lonely. And who wants to be lonely? Who said loneliness is bad? But what I mean is those things are often not from your own motivation. They're actually put on you by social context. Mm. Yeah, I shouldn't be so much on social media. I mean, it's a good one, but it's because people said that's healthy or whatever. Maybe it's a good tip to stay more healthy. Still, it's maybe not your motivation. It's not a deep drive what makes you happy in life. Okay, not being on social media is actually a good way of being more happy in life, I think. But still, you know what I mean, hopefully. And when you have a motivation that is actually coming from the outside or programmed from childhood, it's not your true motivation that you have, that your heart wants, that you want to fulfill. So it will, one, not last so long because you don't have enough energy to maintain that. And secondly, it will not fulfill you or very, very short in time. So you lost that 10 kilos, but somehow you still don't have that self-esteem you actually wanted because it was something else that you actually wanted. Does it make sense? Okay. Good. So Sankalpa goes deeper and says that is what your heart is actually longing for, not what your ego or mind is telling you. You should, not the shoulds. It's like the deep wish, the desire, but the desire from the heart. And that's what we want to find. And that's what keeps us enjoying our lifetime normally. When we find something that really fulfills us, then of course we are more happy, and we are happy to do our work or our dharma or our duties. If that's just something which is from the outwards because we want to be rich, someone told us we should be rich, that's a good thing, then we work our asses off, we get rich, and we're still miserable. Yeah, so what else comes with Sankalpa if you actually find that Sankalpa purpose? The yogis say then 3 things coming with it. There comes a tremendous will and an energy, because I call it motivation because it's intrinsic motivated. So you will have enough energy to work towards it, to make it into your realization, into your life. And the action will come as well. You will have just the right timing, and just flows. You will have enough strength. You will have the right ideas. You will meet the right people and so on. Like kriya, the action will come with it. If you're more aligned with actually what your heart wants, that will just, it's kind of a bit the law of attraction. That will just find its way towards you. And jnana, the wisdom, how to get there, how to fulfill your purpose, will also come to you. That's what the yogis say. If you work on that idea of Sankalpa, those 3 things will flow to you. It's kind of like a magnet. And I want to go now a little bit deeper into what, there are 2 types of Sankalpa, and which one, how can we work with which one? You got the idea what Sankalpa is. It's that what your heart longs for. Purpose kind of thing. So there are 2 types, and now it gets a little bit confusing somehow for some people, because there's a contradiction in the first one, but let me try to transmit it. So the first one I would say is the inner felt heart desire you carry with you already, but you're maybe not aware of it. The first type of Sankalpa. And this most inner felt desire is actually a reflection of your true essence. So you want, that's just very present in all human beings, that they want to get to know their true essence. Who am I? They really want to get to know that. Not everybody has that. Not everybody's seeking on the path of finding that, but there's still a desire. And we see that often because we see or feel the opposite. We feel the lack of. And that's what we try to fill with external things. Like we buy more stuff, we get more relationships, we get more money and so on. We try to fill that lack feeling. There is a lack of. There's just, I'm not enough feeling. And most people carry that with themselves because that's the missing connection to your essence. So if you have that, a Sankalpa could be maybe a more holistic approach to fill that, because it goes more deeper, and it's the way of realizing your true self, your nature. And that cannot be filled by anything outside of you. That is an internal work. That's a realization, a self-realization. And then you want to, of course, once you realize that, you want to also integrate that into your daily life. And that's also part of the Sankalpa path, the integration path. So I'm still at the first type. The first type states that this heartfelt desire is already fulfilled. And that's the contraindication. That's now confusing. So even if you feel a lack, that you don't feel connected to your essence yet, it's said, or it is true in my experience too, that you're already complete, you're already whole, and that's already fulfilled. Your mind just didn't got the news. Yeah, so that's the contraindication. It's only as long a contraindication, contradiction is the word, right? A contradiction, as you're not there. Once you're there, you can see it. Oh, it was always there. It has always been already complete. I have been already complete all my life. All my existence was already full and complete, and there was no lack of anything. I just couldn't see it. It's like the fish in the water that asks himself, like, what is water? But once he figured out what water is, he cannot unsee it anymore. Water's everywhere. But as long as you're like swimming in the ocean and ask yourself, what is water? What is water? You don't see it. Still, it's everywhere. Yeah, so this path of Sankalpa, I want to find myself, and that's a heartfelt desire, which is universal, is already fulfilled. You already got it, and you cannot do anything to make it happen. You're already in the water. So you cannot do an action to get into the water or to find that essence, because you already are it. You can only see that when you got it at some point. And as long as you have the delusion of there's still a lack, you have to pretend to get somewhere, to do something, to realize that there is actually no lack. Does that make sense, or I'm completely confusing you? So. I see it, okay.
It makes sense.
Okay, but so in another sense, the first type of Sankalpa, you actually don't have to do anything for it because it's already there. You're already complete. You're already the essence of yourself. You cannot undo yourself being yourself. You're already it. That's the good news. Still, the realization will happen at some point. There's a shift of realization where you, okay, I already was complete. There was never a lack. And
yes, so that means that the work consists in be aware of this?
Yeah, the work is kind of undoing, not seeing it. So you tell yourself, as the fish in the water, you tell yourself the whole time, your whole life, there's no water, there's no water, there's no water, there's no water. And the work is just letting this there's no water cease. And you open your eyes and see, oh, there's water and it was always there. Yeah, so there's no action needed, but still there's a realization happening. So for our mind, it's a little bit difficult to understand. But I also want to explain you the second type of Sankalpa, which is a bit more practical and more easy to grasp. If you want, you can let the cat in. Oh no, someone has a cat allergy, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't let it in. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, don't worry. 3 people are in the waiting room. At all. Oops. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Oh, hi, Stefan. Arnolda. Okay, so let's come to the second type. Or did I forget to mention something here? Yeah. So still, you can, in your current state, if you don't have the realization of your true nature, what is your essence? If that's clear for you, then you're there. You don't have to do anything. But if you're still in the sense of there is lack of, I feel I'm not enough, I don't have enough, then it can be a practice to remind yourself of that teaching, you are enough. Or let's say, you are already complete. You're already perfect. There is no lack in your being. Being it's a whole. That's a journey, that's a lifetime journey sometimes. That's a spiritual journey. So the second Sankalpa, the second type, and they can also melt into each other. The first type can be the second and so on, but the second type is a little more specific Sankalpa. So you can now imagine it more like an intention or a goal which you want to set. And a goal like as if, what's the highest goal I want to fulfill in my life? And that also can change over time. It doesn't need to stay fixed. But what is my most honest and deepest desire I want to act on in my lifetime? And it's a deep question. It's like
the why of Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know the
No.
concept of why.
Yeah, we will come to that. That's great. Yes, the big why. Yeah, what I'm doing here, or why I'm here. Yes. And that refers to the second type of Sankalpa, and that's something you can actually work on with daily life actions. You can work mentally on it, emotionally, you can do stuff for it. You can change your life to align it with that direction of fulfilling that desire. In some yoga teachings, desire is something really bad and should get diminished, or you shouldn't have desires. That's the idea of some yogic teachings. Tantra is a little bit different because they enhance life and the world. It says, no, yeah, as long as you want to have desires, have them, but love them. Have them, but fully love them, embrace them completely, walk into them. That's why you're here at the end. Tantra says the desires is the reason why we have an experience, why this world exists, because our desire creates it. And it's very simple to understand. You have the desire of building a house. 2 years later, you have a house built. So from the desire comes the creation. It's very logical in that sense. Yeah, you work towards it, you make all the little steps, and at some point you have created it. Okay, so we want to, in the second type, we want to formulate that desire. We want to get clarity and formulate it as a sentence, because we want to remind ourselves of it as much as possible. That's the idea behind it. And that can be very individual. Everybody can really form their own life desire, of course. We are all very different, so we will have different purposes. And that's the idea behind a Sankalpa. And still, the first Sankalpa applies. So it doesn't mean when you are not there yet, when you start the journey of fulfilling a life purpose, of course you're not there yet. Otherwise you wouldn't go there. You don't need it. It doesn't mean that you're still having a lack of. You're still already complete. And that's also a bit confusing for the mind. It's like, how can I have a desire, not be there yet, and still I'm complete? How is this possible? Give a little leap of faith to the yogis. They know what they're speaking about in most cases. But our mind cannot see that. And that's all right. That's what we work on. Yeah. So even though you're not there yet, imagine you're still complete. So you don't have to act out of a lack or not enough feeling. You can still act out of a I'm complete feeling, and I still want to create something. So, for example, we built this house, and it was not that we felt like, oh, we are good enough. We have to build a house and then we are good enough. We still can feel we are whole and good enough, and still can build a house which improves our life quality of living, something like that. And I can still love when I'm in a shitty home. And I love being upset about that. And I love being sometimes happy about that. And I love being neutral about it. Yeah, that's the way of a tantrika. You're still in love with life and whatever happens. And you still allow for desires to be there and to strive for them. It can be there simultaneously. It's not a contradiction. For the mind it is in most cases, but not for your real life experience. Okay, any questions so far? Otherwise I would continue. Good. How to unveil our Sankalpa, how to find it, how to discover it. The yogis have a 3-step stage. A plan. They have a plan. Number 1, do X. Number 2, do Y. Okay. So this comes from the Vedanta tradition. Just if you want to research that a little more. And it says you have to start somewhere, and it doesn't matter so much where you start. So, first of all, trust the process. If you start this journey and you say like, somehow I feel I want to know my life purpose or my current life purpose, that doesn't sound so heavy. Start somewhere. It doesn't matter so much where you start, because sometimes we get caught up in maybe it's that, and then you marinate on that for 2 weeks, and then you change it again. No, maybe it's more that, and two months later, oh no, maybe I think that's more. So you're not even starting to get into action at all, because you're just marinating and just changing your ideas because they're not good enough. So start somewhere with something, your first best idea, and then you go for that. And then you can align it on the way, sure, but you have to start somewhere and go into action. Try it out. See, does that work? And trust the process, because the yogis say it's already there. The heart desire is already known. We just have to open ourselves to hear it, see it, and feel it. It will come. We just have to open and look. And that can be done. This whole process can be started by self-inquiry, asking yourself questions. For example, what is my heart longing for? Very simple question. And now we have the 3 stages. So the first stage is called Shravana. And that stage means the willingness to hear the message of your heart desire. Shravana. So of course, you need to be willing to listen to that inner voice that will come. If you just want a result, it will not come. So you have to do the whole process. If you want to learn a language, you cannot expect to just speak it suddenly. You have to learn from really the beginning. So the willingness is the very first step, and it's a quite important one. Second step, and willingness means also sitting down and taking the time and space, going on a yoga retreat, for example. The second step is manana. And that means the act of welcoming the message. And that is a very difficult step, because there's the little voice that tells you, that's me and that's what I actually want. And you're like, no, everything else but this. That's like leaving my husband. You know, I worked so hard for that. 50 years. I have a good friend. She was like 50 years, 2 kids, married, and she knew that she needed to get out of that. But she didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to know it. She didn't want to do it. She did it at some point, and she said, like afterwards, it was the best thing I could do, and I have since 3 years just trouble, emotional ups and downs, and it's terrible, but it was the best thing I could do. So that's the thing that sometimes comes with, there will be big changes, there will be challenges, you will tap into those deep wounds, and those, you will challenge yourself and so on. Sometimes, not always. Maybe it's just joy, who knows, but the act of welcoming the message to say, okay, all right. And somehow we have a feeling of when something is really true. When there's a deep, honest being felt, we know, damn it, that's true. That's what
Developing your intuition.
Yeah, that's like listening to your intuition, yes. But also welcoming that. Because the initial response often is, I want change, but not that. I have this guy, we met this guy, I don't want to tell his name, but he knows he wants to leave the city he's living in, but he doesn't do the step because he knows he will expose himself to a lot of change and a lot of work and everything. I mean, that's me imagining that, but so those things are known by our subconsciousness or the heart. Well, and then step 3 comes. Let me put step 2 here into the chat. Manana. And then step 3 is this one. nididhyasana. And asana is the posture. And that is the willingness to act on what is needed to fulfill that heart desire. It's also very logical, because otherwise nothing will change. So you start to sit down, okay, I want to know my heartfelt desire or my purpose. Secondly, you get the message at some point, okay, I hear you, I hear myself. And thirdly, okay, I create that courage to also act on it. So you do what is required of you, and that not always feels pleasant or nice or good. Sometimes that involves difficult talks to people or decisions or something, and it doesn't have to, but it often keeps that. So why do we don't do that naturally, following that heart desire? Well, sometimes it's just we're not conscious about it because life programmed us, society and environment. But sometimes, and that's probably half the cases, it's because we're going an avoidance strategy. We are running an avoidance strategy. Because once we connect with what we actually want, we have to first go through that deep wounds and traumas that happened in our past. We have to often pass through them. And in order to not do that, we avoid. So we continue our normal path. It's not always the case. Sometimes not. But often it is.
You have to feel it to heal it.
You have to feel it to heal it. That's a nice sentence. Yeah, that's kind of that. And why do I say that? It's because, and now we come to the why, and I have this little exercise which is called the why chain, I call it like that, where you just inquire within why. You ask yourself a why after your self-inquiry. So you ask yourself that question of your Sankalpa, what does my heart longing for? So you come up with something. What do you come up with? I want to have I want to have many friends, let's say that. Or you can type something you can type in the chat if you have an idea. I want to have many friends. And then you ask yourself, why? Why do I actually want to have many friends? And you go a step deeper and ask yourself, why? Because I want to be liked by people. But why do I want to be liked by people? Because, and after some levels, you will often tap into some pains, because back in school, people really didn't engage with me. And I hated that feeling. And why did you hate that feeling? Because I really genuinely want to connect to people, and they were putting me off or something. Why do you really want to connect to people? And then it goes really deep sometimes, and I'm just making stuff up now, but obviously, because somehow my dad, whatever, my mom didn't give me that feeling of being connected to them, or whatever, it comes often down to that. What I want to say is, often that motivation of I want to have more friends is actually an avoidance strategy of dealing with that old wound that at some place took place in your life, which is you had a problem to connect to people and they were rejecting you. And what happens is, of course, once you work with that, this will come up, and you really don't want that in some sense. I mean, you try to avoid that. Actually, you want that. You try to avoid that. So often we do not do things because we don't want to tap into old things and to deal with them. And finding your life purpose, and because I have heard that from people in my own life journey was like that, is we have to go through that first to finally get free of that, because then we can feel more deeply what do I actually want? Because the motivation of having many friends is not there anymore, because it's not a pain which actually sits there or was sitting in the body. So when I got rid of the pains, I can more freely see what is there, what is my creative being wants to express in this life. Does that make sense? So how to get there is, the white chain it's just one approach, and there are many others you probably can find. But I liked that very much because it's very simple and you go quite deep very quickly. And I don't tell you that you have to do all that alone. You can find some partner, friend, or professional that helps you walking through that process. We have many coaches and mentors and stuff like that. I'm not one of them, but there are good people who can do that. And some people, they even specialize in those life purpose stuff. Like I know yogis, Rod Stryker is an example, who wrote a book about it and who teaches workshops exactly for that, finding your Sankalpa and going through that process. And another way of doing that is just intuitively following intuition. But you have to have this discernment of what is actually honestly true internally, and not what your mind might want you to do, like your shoulds, which come from society and parents. And once you slowly walk your way towards that Sankalpa, you do a statement. It's kind of your mission statement. And you want to put that, and there are two ways of putting that. So number one is formulating a sentence, because you want to have it like clear and easy to remember. Because that's the idea. You want to remember as often, why do I live my life in the way I do? Like, what's my purpose here? So you want to remember that purpose. And then it helps you to make better choices. It actually helps you in every choice of your life you do. If you know your purpose, you know, is this choice beneficial to my purpose or is it not? Because you know your purpose, you have clarity. If you don't have clarity, you have choices and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't really know. Because you don't know where to go. If you know where to go, it's clear. Does that support my purpose, my Sankalpa, or not? Going and studying medicine, does it support it? Going on a yoga retreat, does it support it? Some are very not so much related, but some are more related. Some less, some choices. But yeah, so you want to have clarity about that. So we put it into a phrase. We humans understand language quite well, so we put it in a phrase. And that phrase is in the present tense. For example, I am X, Y, Z. You pretend you already are it. Present tense. I am a yoga teacher that helps people to find their Sankalpa. Okay? So helps people to find their life purpose, to have a more happy life. So maybe that's a statement I could say of my very specific practical. It can be practical. It doesn't need to be too abstract, but it can be, I want to live in love, or everything I do is tinted by love, or whatever. Can be too. It's better to have it a bit more clearly stated so you can actually relate practically with it than too abstract. I am love is maybe a bit too abstract, but if you can put that into an action, and then maybe it's not. So it has to make sense for you. It has to be clear for you. I act with grace in any situation. That would be a great Sankalpa, and you can more or less clearly put that into action. If someone hits your car and you get out and okay, you remind yourself of the Sankalpa, I act with grace, whatever happens. And then you're screaming at that person, but with a lot of grace. Okay? I'm joking. But you still can scream. There's nothing bad with that. Okay, so there's a little pitfall. This first technique with the present tense doesn't work for me because my mind is a bit too tricky. But for some people it works. Athena is a person that works for her. She's just built in that way. For me, it doesn't work. So what I have to do, the second approach. Because what my mind is doing when I say, I am acting in grace, whatever happens, and my mind says, no, but you don't. Not yet. You're not there yet. I was like, I'm in love with life. No, but you don't. So, and when my mind always repeats that negation, but you're not there yet. Yeah, I'm rich. If you want to feel rich, I'm rich. No, but you're not. See, you only have like 12 euros on your bank account. The practice of Sankalpa is to remind yourself as many times. And if you always, your mind has this like counter attack of, but you don't, then it's not helpful. Then you have to do the second approach, which I share now. Use this phrase in those three terms. Number one is, I can, X, Y, Z. I can be graceful in any situation of my life. Can my mind agree with that? I can be. Doesn't mean I am already, or I can. Technically, yes, I can. So, okay, I can make friends with that phrase. I can be graceful. Second, you say, I will. I will be graceful in any situation. Okay, I'm working on it. Yes, I can agree on that. I will be, at some point, I will manage. I believe in myself. I will get my way there. I will be graceful in any situation. Okay. And the third one is, I must. Okay, I gave a promise to me. It's not today maybe, but I must be, because it's really what my heart wants. So that's really my purpose. That's what I work for in my life. I must be graceful at any situation in my life. And that's something my mind can work better with. Maybe you find something, a little tuning for that phrasing, but my mind works like, okay, I can, yes, I will, yes, and I must, yes. Because it's the highest vow I gave to myself. And it's for my well-being. So I must. Does it make sense to you guys? Mm-hmm. Okay, so either work with one of those. I share that too in the chat. And then, how do you know you got it? You got your Sankalpa. Yes, you feel it. So your life is always the measurement. In any practice, especially in yoga, your life is your measurement. So if your life goes really downhill while trying to get you, and it's over a long period of time, and your body and your mind and your emotions are not in harmony, then that's a sign for maybe you could still work on the Sankalpa phrase. Maybe you're not really aligned. If your life goes in the opposite direction into actually it feels right what you do, you feel harmony in body and mind, and it somehow flows more or less, even if there are bumps, then it's a good sign for your Sankalpa is quite nicely positioned. Sankalpa doesn't have to be fulfilled. It's the intention, the direction you walk towards. It can be fulfilled at some point, and that's great, and then it can change or disappear. It doesn't have to be fulfilled. But it's your path to more contentment and fulfillment. And lastly, I want to share the practice. How can you practice it? We already have 50 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how do you practice it? Number one is the remembrance. Remind yourself as many times as possible, because that is really what you need to do in life. Your heartfelt desire, to live your heartfelt desire, is what you need to do in life. So it's the most important thing. That's why make it into a priority. Reminding yourself, and that can be like a little prayer every morning. There can be a little routine. Can be part of your practice. And especially if you have a yoga practice, the moment before or after Shavasana is a great moment. The moment after your meditation is a great moment. The moment in your Yoga Nidra is a great moment, because you want to be as relaxed. And you don't want to be in your rational mind. You want to be in your relaxed state of mind. So the flow state, alpha brainwaves. Because in that state, you're more easy to receive, and you're more honest, and you're not overly critical, and you have a better connection to that so-called subconscious mind. So in those moments where you are most relaxed, you want to remind yourself of that. So that would be the practice. If you're most stressed and then you remind yourself of your vow, then you're more likely to not take it serious, or to push it away, or be overcritical, because you're in survival mode, and that's probably not the first thing you think of in surviving. Yeah, so in other words, you want to be in your parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. And then you want to look at your choices, and you want to see if they support or not support. So you can experiment with choices as well. So that's part of the practice, life choices. Start with the small ones, go towards the more important ones, and align them to what you think is your Sankalpa, and then review them. Was that a good choice? Was that a choice that brought more harmony? Was that a choice that supported what I actually feel really I want? And there's a practice of making a review kind of thing. So you sit down and you review the day, or maybe the week. You go through the week and you just go through the situations in the day and see, like, did that support what I actually want? And it's not about telling yourself off or seeing failure in your behavior. It's more like a learning process, because when you analyze yourself in a retrospection, you can learn for the future. So you see, oh, in this moment I acted really against actually what I really want or feel or drawn to. So next time I'm in a similar situation, maybe I can act a little bit different. Maybe I can align better to what I actually want. Make sense? Yeah. And then Rod Stryker, this guy, which I was speaking of earlier, he works with the Sankalpa quite a bit. He has a practice called departure point. And with that, he means that you pick a habit you want to actually change in your life. Any habit, that would be like the New Year's resolution thing of kind of thing. So you pick a habit and you start to change that habit in the way which is a bit more aligned with your Sankalpa. But it's more about the process of changing a habit. And every time you catch yourself acting in the old habit, you remind yourself of the Sankalpa. And then you introduce that change. So you create that connection of purpose, where do I want to be or where do I want to go, and change of habit. And you do that for 40 days. And that it's not about actually changing the habit, it's more like changing habit in general that aligns to your purpose. And then you start with a random habit. It doesn't even have to be aligned with what your purpose is, just a random habit. So the habit of change and the act of change is connected with your Sankalpa. That's the idea behind that departure point.
Ask questions?
Yeah. Yes, please.
So, can you give an example, for instance, if you say, okay, I would like to get up in the morning instead of like 7 o'clock, at 6 o'clock
Yeah.
to meditate? That's basically what you commit to do, and then just do it for 4
Yes.
days.
Because it's about the reminding yourself of your Sankalpa. And a habit comes very regularly. So what happens when you pay attention to changing habits, you will be reminded because you tap into your old habit over and over again. And what you do is you remind yourself over and over again, as soon as you tap into it, to your purpose, even if they're not connected. So every time at 6 o'clock.
Because you just said it's like change the habit even though it's not connected to your purpose.
Yes, but the practice is that you remind yourself of the purpose.
So setting an intention and following through.
Yeah. The changing the habit is a beautiful side effect that happens with it.
Whip yourself for instance getting up at 7 o'clock, but then okay, tomorrow starting again. That's basically what you're saying.
No, not whipping yourself. I'm saying reminding yourself of.
Yeah, but it's not about the reminding, it's also about the acting, right? It's like, I mean, okay, I should get up at 6, but yeah, I've reminded myself to get up at 7. That's not the intention.
That is not the intention, but you still want to get up with your new, more healthy habit, but you don't need to punch yourself when you not do it. So that's another teaching, is like creating self-care and genuine self-love.
But the intention is to eventually be able to have followed through on this aim of.
Well, the practice, we have to decide. The practice itself is just the reminding of your Sankalpa. If you change the habit or not is secondary. It's beneficial probably to also change the habit, but the habit is just a tool which triggers your remembrance, because a habit is habitual and returns. And in best case, you connect a positive experience of changing a habit, rewiring your brain, plus completely changing your direction of life.
So changing a habit is not the same as your labor. I mean,
it's connected.
It
can be, it doesn't need to be.
It's better to pick an habit that is actually linked to the purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, the same thing you can do in your memory with past events. So you just sit down and you imagine a past event where you actually didn't act in order, in the direction of your heartfelt desire, and you just remember back and you get back into that situation, you feel that situation, you imagine you acted differently in your imagination. So you relive the situation, but you change it in your imagination. And through that, you're just reminded when that happens again in future, that you have another possibility how to act that is more aligned. And because you have time and peace and space, you can more easily craft an optimum situation outcome. Because in the situation itself, it's often like it's so quick that you don't have capacity to think of what would be the best thing to do now. But if you have time and you sit and you just imagine it, you can think of it. What would be the best thing? How could I act? You can play different scenarios, and then you find the best way for yourself and say, that would be probably the best way to remind myself of my heart desire, acting in that way when I'm in this situation. Next time you come into a similar, you already have a blueprint of how to act on. Good, I stop now. I open it for questions if there are some. So there's a book called The Four Desires by Rod Stryker, and he guides you through that Sankalpa process in this book. If you're more interested, maybe read that.
say it again, please.
The Four Desires And that is all based on yogic teachings, starting from the Vedas, because they say they have those 4 desires, the 4 basic desires of humans. And you find a Sankalpa which kind of brings all 4 of them together. And you act on that.
What are the 4 desires?
Have a fulfilling material life, fulfilling human connections, relationships, having being clear about your spirituality, and knowing your life purpose, dharma, like what's your duty. Yeah. And the yogis say this body is born with a skill set, and that is your natural dharma, that's your desire you're built for, designed for, to do in this world. So not everybody can be a doctor, or not everybody can be a spacecraft engineer, but some people are already born with the skill set for it. They can achieve that and be super good at that. But you have to find that, and that's trial and error. Okay. And let's close this.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm very happy that you're all here. I'm happy that you are all there. I'm really grateful for that. And I want to ask the online people, would Sundays also work for you guys? Maybe you can put a little icon like a thumbs up or something if Sundays would work for you, or say no in the chat if it would absolutely be terrible. I did a voting once and Sunday was much better, but I wanted to integrate it into the group here. Now I feel it's nice, but it's too late, and somehow I want to change it back. Now I want to know from you guys, is Sunday okay? Don't work. It would be very sad to lose you, Cliff. Okay, well, I will have a think of it. Thank you. That would be Sunday night, same time. Okay, let's do an and then close this. Close the eyes. Tap one more time, one more moment into that light, which is quite everything. And then take a deep breath and sigh out. And inhale to chant. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Namaste. All right, have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys.